I read some analysis last night that read, quote, when it comes to Trump voters who are disproportionately rural and in the top part of the state and the bottom part of the state, whereas Nikki Haley voters are going to be more in the suburbs, and so they are going to have to go farther away for their caucuses. So is that going to affect the Trump vote, do you think, considering this wild weather we are seeing?
It's possible that it cuts into his lead. Based on the polling I've seen, I don't think there's a way for Haley to catch him, although a strong showing coming in second would certainly benefit her going into the next primary in New Hampshire. So I think it could cut into his lead, which could damage momentum. Remember that Iowa isn't really about the number of delegates to win the nomination. It's really about showing that a candidate is viable and has enough support to keep going and maintain a campaign through the next couple of primaries.
Yeah, Trump's campaign has been trying to dampen down expectations by saying it will be a tremendous victory for him if he gets at least a 12-point victory. But judging by the polls, does he even have to worry?
You know, I think you always want to play it safe on a campaign because the minute you start to take voters for granted, they can tell, and then they do stay home. So you certainly want to manage expectations, but I did think it was interesting that his campaign was focused on that message because, again, I think they are concerned about some of those rural voters making the trip, but I think they're confident they can get most of them to turn out.
And what's your expectation if Ron DeSantis can't pull off a second place? Is his days numbered in the race? Because it seems like Nikki Haley is trying to make it a race between her and Donald Trump.
My expectation for DeSantis would be that he would stay in through New Hampshire, but if he can't make it past third place in either of those primaries, I don't see a path forward for him. We've known from the beginning it was going to be a tough lane for one, but probably only one candidate to stake out a position as the anti-Trump or non-Trump candidate. And there really isn't room in that lane for both Haley and DeSantis. So if he doesn't have a strong showing tonight, either a very close third or an outright second place finish, again, he might stay on through New Hampshire, but I think it's going to be a tough decision for donors to continue funding a campaign at that point that doesn't look viable. And
we're not hearing a lot at the moment about Vic Ramaswami. What's going on with him?
His polling hasn't been as strong as I think people anticipated it to be at first when it seemed like he had a surge of momentum. And at the end of the day, I think you don't hear as much about him because it feels like his voters would probably go for Trump. And he would probably endorse Trump if he were to get out of the race. I think he's someone who will probably drop out after Iowa, but it doesn't make much of a difference. He's polling at around 3%, and those voters probably go to Trump.
Yeah, OK. All right. Makes sense. Emma Doyle, thanks so much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.